Hey, Kyle, do you know what is in Lafayette, Indiana?
Bob Rohrman Toyota.
I was going to say we are.
We are.
It is October 29th. It's Tuesday. Is it Tuesday today? It's Wednesday.
It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday today, October 29th. We're in Lafayette, Indiana at Bob Rohrman Toyota to shoot a season 2 episode of More Than
Oh my
Cars.
goodness.
But first, we have some things to talk about. I don't
got
know if
some
there was music playing or not. All right, we're good.
We got music.
We got these
got
mobile
people
rigs.
producing things and all that.
We're rolling heavy. We got like 10 people here. You can see in the back. We're starting to set up. We have a full day. We actually have a family lunch in this episode, which we're super excited about.
Yep.
If you haven't seen any of the episodes leading up to this, you can just go to morethancars.tv, or you can go on Amazon Prime now and see it. But basically, we're going around the country telling the good stories, the real truth about car dealers, and this is going to be one of those, so we hope you can do that. We're also premiering episode 4 of season 1 on November 13th, so we're just about at the 2-week mark.
Real close.
2 weeks from tomorrow.
Go to LinkedIn, make sure you sign up so that you get the notification, join it, bring the whole team for lunch, watch episode 4.
So much fun.
Yep.
It works great in the conference room.
It really does.
Although we don't get the view count to show Amazon that
It's
people
fine.
love it, but we'll live. We'll live. We are going to be on the road again next week at the we're going to be speaking to all the
my
communications
goodness, yeah.
directors for all of the state associations.
It's great.
We're going to be the opening keynote, so we're excited to do that and be with the people whose job is every single day to connect the dealers with the communities and with the states. So that'll be a fun one too. You probably won't be at that one, or maybe you will. If you're going to be at that one, shoot us an email and let us know, because we want to make sure we say hi. But I think we'll get to meet everybody because there's only 50.
There's only 50 people.
So it'll be a
One
good
per
one.
state. There you go.
Oh, are we still? It doesn't mean we're not going to talk about news today. So JD Power's preliminary October data revealing that while auto loan interest rates have dipped, monthly payments on new vehicles continue to climb, driven by largely reduced trade-in values. The average interest rate for a new vehicle is 6.7%, down from 7.4% a year ago. So we're moving a little bit, not even a whole point, with monthly payments, though, reaching still $738 on average, which is still a 14% increase year over year.
Wow.
The average new vehicle transaction price is down a little bit to $44,904, with used vehicles averaging still so high. $28,472 is the average used vehicle. Trade-in equity, here's the kicker. Trade-in equity has plummeted 10%, all the way down to $7,900. Cars are spending an average of 50 days on lot.
Uh-oh.
That's more than double what they were last year. Leasing is up to 23%. We've been talking about that, driven by increased incentives. Now 6.3% of sticker price is the average incentive.
Wow.
I think
That's
we have a
coming
quote
back
here.
up.
Thomas King, JD Power said, quote, "This holiday season may require innovative strategies to entice customers into acquiring a new vehicle."
Well, here's the keynotes for me on this one is a 50 days average of 50 days on lots for used vehicles. Like, we know what type of impact that has for profitability, what type of impact it has on floor plan interest. And so staying keen on the used car inventory is extremely key. The other interesting one for this, for me, is that I was talking to someone in the financial sector the other day, specifically about mortgage rates. And we're actually seeing over the last 60 days, mortgage rates climb again, while we're seeing auto rates getting reduced. And so it's
Why
just
do they
something.
say that is?
I think it's.
I know
it's-
mortgage rates aren't like lockstep tied, because they
Right.
build into pricing what they think the
we
Fed
didn't get
interest
into that
rate's gonna
ton. It was
do.
more about like, hey, look, even though the Fed interest rate came down, the interest rates on 30-year mortgages is going back up. But we're seeing the continued decline in new car interest rates. So it's something to talk about. There's, obviously a week from today, there'll be a lot of speculation about what rates will do in Q1, Q2. So there'll be,
What's going on in a week from today?
Don't talk about it too much, okay? But still, just heavy level of consideration on spending power, on ability to purchase, on how incentives tie into trade-in equity or inequity, and so that consumer education up front still has to be super top of mind.
Oh man! Speaking of top of mind, do we have a segue?
Segue.
We got it. Very good. It's always good when you got that coordination. I feel like we're a band today.
Yes.
We've been talking about this one a little bit of a different nuance. We know Scout Motors, backed by Volkswagen, is embracing this direct-to-consumer model, obviously sidestepping dealers, looking for this seamless digital-first process. However, dealers are already pushing back with legal threats. So what why we're covering this, and the link in the article today is from something what is it? It's like a tech consumer.
Yeah,
It's
tech
called The
consumer
Verge.
media aggregator that's similar to us, but for outside of auto.
It's called The Verge, and really the angle of this is pretty much what you would expect from a consumer first perspective media, saying
Yep.
like Scout is aiming to get rid of dealers. No one's upset about it. Nobody wants the dealers anyway. It's a very familiar tune, but basically Scott Keogh is promising a quote transparent, super fast, and super easy buying experience. They have an in-house digital platform. Do you know who's powering that?
No
Are they
clue.
building that stand?
I
We'll
don't.
find out.
We're gonna find that out.
Scout bypasses the dealership model, obviously. They're looking to open 25 what they are calling, quote, workshops for service and test drives, and Scout studios for sale. You can call it whatever you want. That's what Tesla
That's
did.
it, call it
Looks like a car dealership. Only through direct sales model can Scout go give a full 360 view of the customer, says VP Cody Thacker.
See, that one's interesting to me. It's like, oh, look, that's the only way we're actually going to get a complete view of what the customer is doing. And I know for a fact that there are multiple companies across auto looking at like, how do we tie the tier 3 to the tier 1 and the data story. But the bigger thing about this to me is the unique data points that they're trying to pull out about the buying experience. You know, Scout saying, oh, look, the shopping or the buying experience takes over 13 hours, which we know from inside the industry.
Yeah, here it is. Here's from the article. The clean sheet approach is trying to remake buying. According to research compiled by Scout, the company buying experience consumes an average of 13 hours, 31 minutes. Just 8% of consumers have high or very high trust in dealers, resulting in more than 180,000 dealer-related complaints every year. So they're saying that customers are spending 13 hours buying a car.
This is the struggle
research
for me, right? Like Scott Keogh came from VW, and we know that VW still needs to see the dealer as a winner for them. And so it's interesting to me that as a brand they're kind of like calling this out. But what's the bigger story here, and the one that I want to focus on today, is the fact that The Verge, a very widely used consumer-facing brand of media, is calling this out as seeing dealers combat this in legal process alone.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the perception of the consumer. You know, we were actually talking to someone this morning at the hotel that was like, oh, look, I never even knew about the Scout brand. And now it's like, I can't get away from it the last few days.
Yeah. They did a good job on the brand market.
Exactly. They did a great job, and the PR game has been amazing. But that also means that as dealers, like, our perception is again on the line because of the way that Scout is going to market, and combating that by legal process alone is just never going to win in the court of public opinion.
So Scott Keogh and Volkswagen are in this tricky boat because, where's this quote? And, Scott says, Scout is 100% separate brand, separate entity, separate structure, separate everything, except for the fact, Scott, where did you work last?
Right.
And who tapped you in the shoulder and said, we have this idea to do this thing? It was a Volkswagen employee or executive. So even though you have the legal entity, like, dealers don't see it that way. We'll see if consumers actually see it that way.
Right.
But the reality is, totally agree. The consumer wants the best way to buy a car. We've seen now Tesla and Rivian and Fisker. Even I'll throw Carvana in there, trying to deliver a different experience. And what the actual data shows is that people like dealing with a salesperson. They always talk about them. When you review people, was the best part of your buying the salesperson
Every time,
regardless of that. And we've seen the service issues that come up. What happens when there's a problem with the delivery? It's a challenging thing that they're trying to do. And we have examples now to say, like, it doesn't go like everyone thinks it's going to go.
Yep. Still, I mean, obviously we have our opinions on this, and we're calling out like the facts are the facts.
Yeah.
But like, as dealers, we still have the responsibility to give the best possible experience at every turn so that the OEM and the consumer has no choice but to go with the dealer experience.
For sure. Scott's very well loved in the industry, and seems like an amazing leader. And look, when you're in a track meet, or you're in what do you want? You want a real athlete competing against you.
Yep.
Right? Because that makes you run faster, pay more attention. So I love the vehicles, by the way.
Yeah.
They're so dope looking.
They're dope. I'd want to sell them too. If
I would absolutely
all day
if I was a dealer. Speaking of things that are dope, I don't know. We're gonna watch an Apple commercial. They're usually dope.
All right. If you haven't seen it, you got to go check it out. Links in our show notes. But this week, Apple has launched 2 new ads promoting its Apple Intelligence tools. Interestingly enough,
Are we going to watch one of these?
we got to watch it. But what you want to watch out for is that the ad kind of like calls out the general person for maybe not being as on top of their game as they should be.
All right,
check it out.
let's run the ad. What you saw there is this like kind of like sloppy looking guy at a desk, and he's like talking about how he's typing a text message to his boss or an email on his phone, and then he hits the professional button for the AI to rewrite it, and the boss looks up and looks back over this guy like, you know, like spinning in his office chair. And he's like, "You wrote that?"
It's really interesting because I think consumers are now getting a more widely adopted AI integrated into their everyday technology. In business, I think a lot of people have been utilizing it, but it's not something that people have adopted on like a moment by moment basis to enhance their speed of work. And so to kind of like position AI as the way to be smarter is a really interesting move. And actually, this article by Fast Company, the observers noted, like, so far, Apple Intelligence is showing us how to construct a false impression of ourselves, essentially.
I mean, that is exactly what it does. And it says critics say Apple's ads subtly suggest that AI is a quote cure for the dumb and lazy.
Wow. But what's really interesting is like great use of AI actually requires a lot of skill, a lot of understanding. And so like my encouragement here is don't just use AI to be dumb and lazy.
No, don't.
Right?
I think it's different than that. I would say it's don't use AI to be somebody else.
That's right.
And I think that's where everyone very quickly is going to figure out like, oh, that's not real. That's not real. When they read like your social media posts, like you didn't write that, right? So I think, and that's what this is like, I'm going to be somebody, but the bottom line is like, that guy is not going to make it because he's not paying attention. He's not thinking critically. He's not working hard. And then everyone is going to elevate to this level. Like we do hire